Hello, it is Sunday, the 11th of December. It is week 14 of the NFL, and in today's video, 6 picks. They'll be going over some sit and start matchups for the fantasy season on every single game as we enter the first round of the playoffs in most standard leagues. And I will also be going over the Deshaun Jackson situation. What's going on with Deshaun Jackson, and why might he be at the state that he is at? And we'll start it off, however, within the Colt McCoy, Pat Shurmur situation. I talked about this earlier this week, and James Harrison gave a helmet-on-helmet hit to Colt McCoy. And when he was down, you could just tell that, like, wow, he was knocked out. Yet, like 4 or 5 minutes later, 2 plays later, he was back out there again. Colt McCoy said that he did not remember playing that game. And he felt he let his team down. Now, it wasn't you, it was Pat Shurmur, but you can think what you want, Colt. That's definitely a concussion. And again, I am so pissed off at Pat Shurmur. Let's now get started within these games. We'll start off with Kansas City and the New York Jets. There's no play this, but I'm going to go through each game. I'll go through fantasy as well. My start for this game is the New York Jets defense. This is a play against any Kansas City team, as this team is just garbage right now. Now, as far as sitting, you don't take top receivers against the Jets. So Dwayne Bowe is a sit against Darrelle Revis. Next game is Atlanta and Carolina. No side or total on this game. And I'm going to start Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons, as he's been playing extremely well over the last little while. Houston, great against the run, but can give up some fantasy points against the pass. I'm going to sit D'Angelo Williams, who's just been terrible this year. Philadelphia and Miami, and the start for this game is going to be Reggie Bush of the Miami Dolphins, and a great start that this would be, as Philadelphia has not played well against the run. And I'm going to sit every single player on the Philadelphia Eagles. Michael Vick, sit all of them. I'm also going to take the under in this game, and the under is 45 total points. And Miami's a very good defensive team as well. Now, as far as Deshaun Jackson, I'm going to go over this right now because Deshaun Jackson's playing terrible. And I have him in fantasy. What do? Do I sit him? And I probably will, even though Jeremy Maclin might be back. I guess if Macklin's out, I probably have no choice but to play him. Riley Cooper is a guy I'm keeping my eye on for Philadelphia. Might be a sleeper pick of 2012 in fantasy football. But knowing the situation of Andy Reid, I wouldn't be surprised if they sit Deshaun Jackson. I think the problem with Deshaun Jackson is he's frustrated because he knows that the time when you get a contract next year, that he probably realizes the currency will already be dead. He understands a fiat debt-based system. And I'm saying it maybe because that's showing on the field that he understands this is to be the case. And maybe he was buying the silver at $50 an ounce and he's all pissed off that he didn't win. That's my prediction on that one, but I wouldn't stick with it. But it's possible. New Orleans and Tennessee, no play on this one. I'm going to start Chris Johnson, which before would have been a no-brainer play, but he's coming along extremely well. And I kind of want to play Tennessee on the side in this game, but I can't. I really can't. And as far as a sit in this game, you sit every single defense, but there's really not many good sits in this game, period. Minnesota and Detroit, no play here, but I'm going to start Nate Burleson of the Detroit Lions. Minnesota, very pass-happy defense. It's so easy. Nate Burleson, Calvin Johnson, Titus Young should all have good games. And I'm going to set Brandon Pettigrew, tight end of the Detroit Lions, who has not been playing well. You don't know if it's him or Tony Scheffler as a tight end, so just throw that one away. Houston and Cincinnati. And I'm going to start nobody. Although I'm pretty much forced to start TJ Yates in one of my leagues, but I got nobody on that. And I'm going to sit Cedric Benson in this contest. New England and the Washington Redskins. I'm going to go over the total of 47.5 points. Go the ideology that I was thinking at the start of the year. That was just to take the Patriots over every single week because they got an amazing offense and their defense, quite frankly, stinks, which is going to be the case here. I'm going to give you an easy sit and what should be an easy start. This is a fantasy game, so a lot of players are great starts. Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, plug them in. But Rex Grossman, if you need a quarterback or you have some weak matchups, put Rex Grossman in the lineup. He could very easily be a top 10 quarterback this week going up against the New England Patriots at home. And sit tight end Fred Davis. If you haven't realized, the guy's not even playing. He's suspended. Next one, Tampa Bay and Jacksonville. The total on this game is 40.5, and I'll be playing that total to go under. And as far as starts and sits, I'm going to start Maurice Jones-Drew, which is pretty much a no-brainer. It's just there's really nobody in this game I'd want to start. So I'm going to sit everybody else, basically. Josh Freeman he might play, he might not. It's 10 o'clock as I'm making this video in the morning. And like I say, I might have to bench him to start TJ Yates in fantasy football, basically, is what I'm saying. But Tampa Bay, I don't think is going to have, it's going to be hard for them to score. And Jacksonville's been averaging like 30-point totals all season long. Only twice this year they went over. And once, of course, was last Monday night when I said to play the under. We got 6 games left. San Francisco and Arizona, not playing any side or total there. And I'm going to start the Arizona defense there. They've been coming along extremely well the last few weeks in this game. Now, I kind of want to play Arizona +4 because I feel they're trying to trap people into betting on San Francisco. I'm going to sit Beanie Wells, however, for the Arizona Cardinals because of how amazing the run is on the San Francisco side. Chicago and Denver, and I'm going to be playing the Denver Broncos laying 3.5 points. And I was kind of hoping they would have dropped that baby down to 3, but unfortunately they didn't. This is the first time ever that Tim Tebow's favored to win a start. And this is like his, 10th, 9th start? Which, I don't know. It's kind of interesting to say the least that they're finally starting to give him a little bit of respect. But it's just that. It's a little bit. Because Chicago's in a terrible situation. You don't got your starting quarterback, Jay Cutler, who's now unable to have his return back to Denver. You lose your running back, Matt Forte. And Marion Barber has not been impressive, to say the least. Matt Forte, an exceptionally amazing running back, no longer there. And now you have a situation with the injury to Von Miller last week, who was unable to play against Minnesota. He will be active this week, and over under 1.5 sacks. I'd probably take that baby to go over the total. Now, there's one interesting thing about this game that is for the Denver Broncos. So how do you win the game? And it's fairly simple, and that is not let Devin Hester return the ball. That means when you're punting the ball, you punt the ball out of bounds. If you kick it off, try to kick it out of the stadium, and if failing that, do something fancy. But fancy can always get you screwed over. However, as far as stats are concerned, last week Minnesota had 5 kick returns for 111 yards. And this is the first time all season long Denver allowed that many kick return yards. In fact, coming into that game last week, Denver averaged less than 1 kick return per game and less than 20 yards. It's now 1.17 after they allowed 5. That's returns per game. So Denver does a great job in not allowing kick returns, which is exactly what the Chicago Bears' strength is going to be. So that works out extremely well. As far as a start and sit for this matchup, I'm going to start the Denver defense because of the fact they've been playing great lately, getting interceptions, touchdowns. They've been making a lot of great plays, and now they're up against Haney, who's got a terrible offensive line, no running game, GG basically. I'm going to sit Willis McGahee in this matchup, as Chicago does very well against the run. Also, another note, in this game, it's hard to run as a quarterback against the Chicago Bears, and that is because only 3 teams have managed to run for 3 yards or more against the, or 4 teams, so this is something like 3/4 of the time, or 2/3 of the time, the Chicago Bears allow 2 running yards or less to quarterbacks, but Tim Tebow should be able to find some running lanes. But even then, I think it might be a lot like last week, where he's going to be able to throw the ball down the field. Next game, Buffalo and San Diego. Now, I checked the kick return yards for San Diego only because I'm in a fantasy league that return yards matter, meaning I get 1 point for every 25 return yards. And I'm going to start Brad Smith, because the San Diego Chargers allow 85 return yards per game, and that's what Brad Smith does, is return the ball. And I'm also noticing that they allow 100 yards, something like half the time. So that's pretty decent stats to be working with. I'm going to sit the defenses for both games, as it should be a offensive performance, but I'm not big on the Buffalo defense either. But I'm going to take 7 points for the Buffalo Bills in this one. 2 joke teams, and the spread is way too high. 3 games left, but only one side or total left, and it's a total, and it's the game between Oakland and Green Bay over the 51.5 total points. If you're really in major need of a fantasy running back in an extremely deep league, or you've had all the injuries, you need somebody, Brandon Sane, especially in a PPR league, Brandon Sane is going to replace Starks. Now they're saying it's going to be him and Grant back and forth, but don't be surprised if Brandon Sane becomes a primary back today. The guy can catch really well. He's an awesome talent, and I would like to see him play a really, really good game. And as far as sit, I'm going to sit Jermichael Finley, as the Oakland Raiders do exceptionally well against tight ends. But 51.5 points, a low number for Green Bay total. 2 games left, the primetime games, New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to start all 3 of the Dallas wide receivers. Miles Austin, Laurent Robinson, and Dez Bryant. The Giants are very generous to wide receivers this season, and Tony Romo is finding great chemistry. And it's not often you can find a team that can throw to 3 guys consistently. We got one right here. I'm going to sit the Matt Bradshaw, although I got no choice but to play him in one of my leagues because I got nobody else I can put in for him. So I'm going to sit Matt Bradshaw in that matchup. Monday Night Football, if anything, it'd be the under, but I'm not going to put a play as of yet, but I might just throw in the under before the end of the week, or before tomorrow. Fantasy, I'm going to start the Seattle defense, but unfortunately, one of my leagues, I got them on the bench because I got Denver's defense starting instead, as the St. Louis Rams are just a horrible, horrible team offensively. I'm going to sit Steven Jackson, the running back of the St. Louis Rams, as Seattle has done very well in stopping the run. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great week. Bye-bye.